But here's what I want to go to what the Trade Minister had to say about our trading relationship with China before I come back to you, James McGrath, because this is where we have a strategic failure as well, or potential failure in keeping us as a prosperous nation. Let's go to the grab.
Australia will stand true to our values and firm in defence of policies that protect the interests of our country. And if we have points of difference with other countries as a result of that, well, so be it. But we are very happy to sit down and talk through those points of difference and do so in a mature way that is respectful of the relationships and partnerships we want to have with those countries. And it's disappointing when other nations won't come to the table with the same open-minded attitude to have that sort of dialogue. And I hope that we will see China agree to that and do so ideally sooner rather than later. It doesn't need to wait for a visit. It can be done through virtual summits, phone calls or otherwise.
Now, James, jawboning is very good in politics and some people are very, very good at it indeed. But how are we ever going to make sure that we are independent for the domestic supply of food and essential goods if our major trading partner, the person that we buy a lot of this, or the sovereign nation that we buy a lot of this stuff from, doesn't even want to engage in conversation? What do we do about this from your point of view?
Oh, this is a massive wake-up call for us in terms of how China are taking us for granted. But we need to step back a bit here in terms of looking at what China's been doing over the last, when I say a couple of years, probably 10 to 15 years, in terms of their expansion in the South Pacific, our neighbourhood. And both governments, Labor and Coalition, did take the South Pacific for granted. I've long held, I realise I'm off track a bit here, but I'll get back on terms of why this is important. I've long held that one of our most important foreign relationships actually is that of Papua New Guinea. Now, Papua New Guinea is all but a failed state. The influence of China in there is a nefarious influence, and luckily, whether it's coronavirus or the last couple of years when Scott Morrison came in, we've recognised that we need to re-establish proper working relationships and get back in there and make sure that we've got those personal relationships with the governments in the South Pacific and in Papua New Guinea. And this comes to China. China is a bully. It is, you look at its internal government, it is a communist dictatorship. The way you deal with bullies is you don't let them bully you around. But what you've got to do when you are a small country like Australia, a small to medium country like Australia, we've got to make sure that we work with other countries, whether it's the United States, United Kingdom, the European Union, and our neighbours in the South Pacific, to make sure that when we're having a fight with this big bully, that we've got people beside us. Because Australia just taking on China alone is not going to end up well for Australia because of the imbalance of trade at the moment. And this is the other wake-up call in terms of... Sorry, Corey.
No, so I was going to say there are many very good points you make, but a lot of Conservatives think, we shouldn't be involved in throwing money or giving money to other nations. But the point you made, that we need these allies, and it doesn't mean militarily, we need them in the region to be supportive of us. And so as a part of that, we've got to support them in their democratic methods or in building their infrastructure. Because if we vacate that, we lose, we cede it to a less benevolent player, is how I would put it.